Hello and welcome. In this video segment we will work through step 1 through 6 of tutorial 6. These steps will demonstrate how the geometry of this part is constructed. On the screen is the completed geometry with x0, y0 at the lower left hand corner of the part. At the start we will create a rectangle for the outside profile and then move on and create the geometry for both of the pockets. In the final steps we will create the 4 circles and then translate the geometry to create a 3D design. Let's get going and start a new part and start at step 1. I'm going to move up to the top left hand corner of my screen and pick the icon for new part. At the center of the grid is x0, y0, our origin. For step 1 we're going to create the outside profile. I'm going to move on into create and then select create rectangular shapes. As you can see, the radio button against base point is turned on. The first thing I'm going to do is set up the width, which is 9.5, and the height of this rectangle 6.5. I'm now going to move up and select the double arrow to expand the dialog options box. This rectangle is going to have fillets on the 4 corners. The fillet rad I'm going to input at 0.5, and moving on down to the anchor position you can see it's set at the lower left corner. Moving over to the graphics screen now, select position of base point. I'm going to pick the origin, the center of this grid. Everything looks good. I'm just going to go back to the rectangular shape options dialog box and pick OK. And now I'm going to move up to the top and select fit. So everything looks good here. For step 2 we're going to create the geometry for the pocket on the left. I'm going to move into create and then pick line, and right at the bottom create line parallel. Now for this first prompt, select a line. I'm going to pick this vertical line on the left. Now for the next prompt, select the point to place a parallel line through. I'm going to pick a point just to the right. Moving up to the distance section, I'm going to input 1.0 and hit enter. There's our line. Now I want to continue in this mode, so what I'm going to do is hit the apply button. Now for this prompt, select a line. I'm going to go back and pick that left vertical line, and for the next prompt I'm going to pick a point to the right. This time the distance is 3.0. I'm going to hit enter. Looks good. I'm going to hit apply. Now when prompted, select a line. I'm going to go back and pick that left vertical line again, and for the next prompt I'm going to pick a point over here on the right. This distance is 4.5. Hit enter, and I'm going to hit apply. For this next prompt, select a line. What I'm going to do is move on down to the bottom of the screen and pick this bottom horizontal line, and for the next prompt I'm going to pick a point above. The distance is 0.4. I'm going to hit enter. That looks good. I'm going to hit the apply button to continue. When prompted, select a line. I'm going to go and pick this lower horizontal line again and then pick a point above the line. This time the distance is 3.0. I'm going to hit enter and then hit apply. When prompted, select a line. I'm going to go and pick that lower horizontal line again, and for the next prompt I'll pick a point way above the line, and this time the distance is 6.0. Going to hit enter. Instead of hitting apply, this time I'm going to hit OK. Next we're going to put fillet radii on the corner of these pockets. Create, fillet, and pick fillet entities. Now the radius is 0.125, so that's already set up, so that looks good. When prompted, select an entity I'm going to move on down to the graphics screen and I'm going to pick this horizontal line, and then for the next prompt I'm going to pick this vertical line on the left. As you can see, everything's getting trimmed. I've got the trim turned on. For the next prompt, select an entity. I'm going to pick this left vertical line and then move on down and pick this horizontal line. I'm going to continue, going to pick this line and then this vertical line. I'm going to pick that same vertical line again and then this lower horizontal. I'm going to pick the horizontal line again and then this right vertical line. For the last fillet in this pocket, I'm going to pick this vertical line and then this top horizontal line. So everything looks good here. I'm going to move on over and pick OK. Now we need to create the geometry for the pocket on the right. So again, we're going to go Create, Line, and Create Line Parallel. Now when prompted, select a line. I'm going to move over to the left and pick this left vertical line. And for the next prompt, select the point to place a parallel line through. I'm going to pick a point to the right. Now the distance is 6.0. I'm going to hit enter. Looks good. I want to continue in this mode, so I'm going to go up now and hit the apply. For the next prompt, I'm going to go back and pick this vertical line again. And for the next prompt, pick a point to the right. The distance is 7.5. Going to hit enter and move up and hit apply. Select a line. I'm going to go back to the left and pick this vertical line again, and for the next prompt I'm going to pick a point to the right. This time the distance is 9.0. Going to hit enter. Looks good. Hit apply. Now for this next prompt, select a line. I'm going to move down to the bottom of the screen and select this lower horizontal line, and for this next prompt, select the point to place a line through. I'm going to pick a point above it. The distance is 0.4. I'm going to hit enter and then I'm going to hit apply. Select a line. I'm going to go down to the bottom again and select this lower horizontal line, and for the next prompt I'll pick a point above. The distance is 3.5. I'm going to hit enter and next I'll move over and pick apply. Select a line. Again I'm going to pick this lower horizontal line and then pick a point above. This distance is 5.0. Everything looks great here. We've finished. I'm going to hit OK. Now we're going to put the corner fillets in. Create, Fillet, and Fillet Entities. And as you can see, the radius is set to 0.125. Now when prompted, select an entity. I'm going to move on down and pick this vertical line. Next, I'm going to pick this lower horizontal. For the next prompt, I'll pick this horizontal line again and then move on to the right and pick this vertical line. I'm going to pick this vertical line again and then this horizontal. Pick this horizontal. Now this vertical line. I'm going to pick that vertical line again and then this top horizontal line. And now for the last fillet radius, I'm going to pick this horizontal and then this vertical line. So everything looks great here. What I'm going to do now is just move on up and pick OK. For step 4, we're going to create the 4 circles. Create, Arc, and I'm going to pick Create Circle, Center Point. Moving up into the diameter section, I'm going to input 9/16, 9/16, that's the diameter of these circles, and then hit enter. 0.5625. Now the prompt on the screen, enter the center point. What I'm going to do is input the X and Y coordinates for the center of these circles. I'm going to move up now and select the fast point icon, and in the white space I'm going to enter 0.5, that's the X value, comma, and then 6, enter. And there's our first circle. Now what I'm going to do is move on over and click on the diameter symbol, and you can see they've turned red, so we've locked in at that particular diameter. Now I would like to move on, so I'm just going to move to the right and hit apply. Now instead of going up and hitting the fast point icon, you can just hit the space bar on your keyboard and that'll do the same thing. Now for this next center point, I'm going to type in 9 in X and 0.5 in Y. I'm going to hit enter, and as you can see in the bottom right hand corner there's our second circle. I'm going to hit apply. Now for these next two circles, they're 3/8 diameter. I'm going to move up and change the diameter to 3/8 and then hit enter. I'm going to go and hit the fast point icon, or you can hit your spacebar, and the X and Y value 0.5 in X and the same again in Y, 0.5. So I'm going to hit enter, and in the lower left corner is the third circle. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to hit the space bar, and for this final circle, 9 in X and 6 in Y. Everything looks great. I'm going to pick OK. Let's move on to step 5. We're going to create the 3D design. I'm going to move up into X form and then pick X form, translate. Now in this drop down, as you can see, I've got chain selected, so that's good. Now for the prompt, select entities to translate. What I'm going to do is move on up and pick this top horizontal line. As you can see, it's successfully chained the contour. Now to move on to the next step, I'm going to move over to the right and hit the end selection button. Now over in the translate dialog box at the very top, as you can see, I've got the radio button turned on for join, so that's good. Moving down below, the steps is set to 1. Now in the delta section, XYZ, what I'm going to do for Z, I'm going to input -1.0. I want to translate these entities that we've just selected down in Z 1 inch. I'm going to move on down now. I've got preview turned on and fit, looks good. Next thing I'm going to do is hit apply. Now we have some more entities to translate, so you can see the prompt, select entities to translate. What I'm going to do now is translate the left hand pocket. So I'm going to move on over and click on this left vertical line. As you can see, it's successfully chained everything. Now to move on to the next step, I'm going to move up to the top right of the screen and hit end selection. As you can see, join is still enabled. This time for the Z, I'm going to input -0.25. So I just want to translate these entities down 0.25. Everything looks good. I'm going to hit the apply button. It's going to shrink the screen down. Now select entities to translate. What I'd like to do now is translate the right pocket. So I'm going to move on over and pick this top vertical. Now same again, to move on to the next step, I'm going to go on up and hit end selection. Now over on the left in the translate, you can still see we've got join activated. Down for the Z, I'm going to change that to -0.125. So this is a different depth, this pocket. Looks good. I'm going to move on down and pick OK. Let's get an isometric view and screen fit, and there's our geometry. Looks great. Let's now move on to step 6. We're going to save the geometry. Now before I do that, I should clear the colours. Just going to move on up, hit clear colours, and I can go on up and hit save. And then you can type in the file name for your particular file that you're using. That completes the geometry for tutorial 6. Thanks for watching this video.